Hey, Koshik. I didn't get to ask you how the movie was. The Odyssey, right? Or maybe tell me later on. It's up to you. Because the market's about to open and we're trying to frantically get ready here. Oh man, now I really gotta wait for it to come out to stream. Is it acting or is it like the story? Okay, so I'm watching this Centroid here just to kind of see. I think we're pretty darn close to it at open. I want to see if it holds. And I think that Centroid will essentially decide whether it's upside or downside. $74.85 is that Centroid that Alma pointed out, and it's a high probability reversion line close to a local Vanna flip. Seems very unlikely to break through this from either side, and it looks like we're opening above it. So morning volatility can make anything pretty much happen, right? So downside is momentum, and upside is basically a grind. But if you look at it, now this is Alma's take, by the way. The edge is best momentum trade is downside, but upside is a good premium collection edge. So downside will be fast, upside is slow. Doesn't mean that doesn't give any specifics on the direction per se. It just tells you the type of trade to take if we are above or below that centroid. What's interesting is the weekly P&L. Last week we closed right inside the customer P&L that's positive. And I'll show it to you after, once we kind of settle down and maybe get a trade in or something. And then the weekly P&L this week is actually positive to the downside. It's either way positive above 7,700 or customer P&L will be positive below think it was, what the heck was it? 73? Might have been 73. Let me see. 74.14. So I would think that downside, so like basically the customers are betting on downside or are essentially hedged for this week. It's, oh, Nihon. I have no idea. He said he'll try. I have no idea what his schedule's like. But I gave him like roughly what ours like the normal stream is. Like what my weekly schedule typically looks like. And if he joins, he joins. If he doesn't, then we're good too. It looks like Legends also extended their promo until the 24th. So probably end of week. What is that? Yeah. Basically this Friday. No news this week, just earnings, I guess. A look at the gamma charts here. And we're opening up pretty much in negative gamma. The straddle, I think you can carry something around like 50 points, which I forgot to adjust. $90 to $40. Okay. We got a gap above towards 75.33 from last Friday's open. And we also got the gap below from today. For today, the pivot, so the upside pivot, which is 75.07, is a break even of the customer implied P&L curve. And upside pivot is a reversion line back to 75.25. What? What is she talking about? Locally, the most magnetic one. This generates the grind up environment. Huh. Shadow gamma makes upside. Yeah, Yeah, I think that should be target. Pivot is the break even, and upside target is a reversion line back to 75.25. So it's going to be super grindy up there. Where are we at now? 75.10. Shadow Gamma makes upside the path of least resistance. Pivot is the most supportive due to Shadow Gamma. Market really needs volatility. Okay. Oh, the 3-day fast? Yeah, and a bunch of supplement. My skin is generally better. It hasn't fully disappeared yet, but it's much better than what it was prior to the fast and the rebuilding of my gut. That's probably my fault too, because I'm trying to adjust my diet, but it's taking, like, I'm not as strict as I should be with my diet, with what I eat. A bag of fried potato chips always screams my name, and they are my weakness. Potentially, let's see if there's a short that sets up here. I'm not loving anything from like hourly chart perspective. Yeah. I'm tempted to try this. There's a 1-minute SMT, but I think this is a little early. Interesting rejection spot from a volume profile perspective on both ES and NQ here. I just don't know if we're ripe yet. This is a little early for me. And they're making this really hard. Yeah, it's like an edge of a node there on both ES and NQ. And the 5-minute just doesn't, it's not very convincing here. I like the doji kind of look, and then on NQ it looks like a top wick candle. Yeah, upside 75.05. we're just past it now. $75.25 locally is the most magnetic. This generates the grind up environment. Okay. 75.15 is the edge of the negative gamma on a daily level. $75.25 is the largest dealer positive gamma strike. So I can see, yeah, a little bit of gravitation towards there. But yeah, I can that initial rejection 75.15 makes some sense, but it's not like very the most pivotal spot to reject either. Like I would like to see a gap fill rejection. Yeah, and NQ is pumping up, so very good. Yeah, would love to see like a gap fill rejection would be best, in my opinion. Still a little bit of divergence here. 15-minute close is gonna look pretty darn bullish, in my opinion. YM is massive top wick on the 15 minutes. It still looks like it's gonna close green. Just a big rejection off like the high of day so far on YM. Looks like NQ is the one that's gonna be dragging it. It's a previous day high. RTI 120. RSI's above 75 at the moment. Let's see previous day high on NQ. Why I'm struggling here. It's pretty massive top wick. I mean, if NQ hits previous day high, it does feel like a pretty decent rejection point there. Set an SMT between ES and NQ, or ES and SPX. Oh yeah, it is. Oh man, I missed that. ES wicked above, SPX held. 7,500. Where are we going here? 7,500 SPX? Or are we gonna go down to 7,490? Let's see what these positionings are. $7,500. It's a mix of calls and puts. Customers are long both calls and puts almost equally, causing that negative gamma. At 7,490, they are long puts, so they're betting on downside. So 7,490 does not pan out. They start closing out their positions. Oh man, come on. Why'd they have to make this so hard? Slight pullback there. I wanted to see NQ's previous day high, but I was like looking at the volume profile chart on ES. I kind of like the rejection there, and I think I was talking through a potential rejection there. And I probably should have paid attention to SPX and the divergence between ES and SPX there. But I'm going to see how we react off 7,500 and 7,490. I'll consider my short trade missed. It does look like things are coming down here. Also, no real SMT between ES and NQ, which is typically what I look for. I know you like SPX and ES divergences. And shoot, that would have played out nicely. I'm a little upside bias, but I'm cautious about a downside momentum play, just because of the negative gamma that we're in. If we see 74.90, 74.85, I think it might be a good long opportunity. But mainly because I missed the short. That was tough. My goodness. Yeah, would you have wanted, did you end up taking a short at 9:45? Because that was a pretty high volume 1 minute candle on both ES and NQ. I failed to check the 1 minute volume there. Yeah. I think that was my problem. Like, I didn't really see. I mean, the 1 hour looks like it can close pretty badly here. $75.51. Yeah, that's ES. Yeah, just from a volume profile perspective, I really like that ES edge rejection. And technically RSI was crossing like overbought too. And then RTI 120 is like something I like to pay attention to from NQ. And when those two are both kind of like in the overbought, like it's a good potential opportunity for a rejection. So far, it's been playing out really nicely. Like 20 points so far from the highs. Damn. Yeah, that 1 hour edge over here, 75.50. With NQ jumping up higher, I thought maybe we might continue upwards. But yeah. And that level sucked. Like, there's nothing there outside of that volume profile for me. I know on the daily we had zero gamma pretty darn close to it. But yeah. What a shame. What's wrong with this? I don't know. Okay. A little bit of divergence here between ES and NQ near the lows. We're also at VWAP. Pretty darn close to the centroid here. I don't like the way the 1 hour is going to close if it closes here. But we still got another like 5 minutes or 4.5. I also have to question whether or not this is like the line in the sand that Alma says it is. Like from a clustering perspective, I can see a bounce maybe here, but I like 74.75 more if I had to guess on a bounce. But this 1 hour looks horrible, along with the 15 minutes and the 30-minute candle and the 4 hour candle. Do we see gap fill today, you think? Where are we? Yep, no divergence here at the bottom. It looks like we're just going. Yep, I totally missed it too. Don't worry about that. RSI, RTI 120. Yeah. I should have been more bearish at that edge, but there wasn't enough there for me. Yeah, this looks pretty bad though. Yeah, and the negative gamma, like I was concerned about the negative gamma if we head down. Low side's 47.70-ish. 74.70, sorry. 74.70. Which kind of makes sense here based on this cluster. So I'm watching that. I didn't weight that edge of volume profile as much as I should have. And I didn't really love the setup aside from your kind of bread and butter, which is the SPX and ES divergence. But I wanted more confluence. There was like not much there. But this is Alma's line in the sand, so I mean, if we're gonna go up, this is it. Otherwise, I think we're gonna spool down towards like 74. Well, I like 74.70 bounce for the edge of the negative gamma cluster that we see here. I hate the 1 hour close though. 30-minute close looks bad. 1 hour close looks bad. 2 hour close. 4 hour close. I mean, it could just be one of those fake out top wicks, but $74.80, $74.75. And a gap fill would be 74.57-ish. NQ's at VWAP at the moment. YM is headed down towards its overnight low. Well, this is its London low. Like getting pretty close. Okay, that's 74.79. See if something sets up here in the 5-minute. Yeah, I can tell. I can see if 74.90, which is a large amount of customer puts. If that doesn't play out here, I can see if we do run up, these guys are going to close their positions. Whoever is holding that 74.90, 2,200 positions. And if that does happen, we're going to get a run up. But it is going to be grindy above 75.20. So Alma Centroid seems to be holding, which is her line in the sand. NQ's VWAP is holding here. "30 seconds for the 5-minute close." NQ's is a high volume 5-minute candle, but ES is not. I want to try this here and kind of see where we go. I don't like the higher time frame candles though. I'll take the 5-point stop loss. Just about 5 points. Typically I want to wait for an SMT, but I don't see one right now. And this is going against my higher time frame instincts for a scalp up here. Because my higher time frame read looks like all the candles are pointing down. Yeah, I got knocked out pretty quick there. I'm still very cheesed. I didn't get that short. Like the short was definitely the play. SPX and ES diverged at the top. And we were at the edge of the 1 hour volume profile node. But there wasn't much else there. Maybe the edge of, I guess what we would call zero gamma. It was pretty darn close to zero gamma. It wasn't quite there, but 2-3 points shy. Might just be calculation errors. If this SMT holds, I might re-enter. It's really grinding it out here. $74.70. $74, $75, $74.70. Let's see if we can get a reaction off of there, but this thing looks like it's gonna just spool down now towards the gap fill. I think the higher time frame basically gave us the hint that it was that we're headed down. Like the 4 hours massive top wick, 1 hour top wick, 2 hour top wick, 30-minute top wick. $75.45, new speculation higher. $75.45. Let me check it out. You're referring to SPX, correct? If so, at 75.45. Yeah, 89.81. Mind you, I would actually consider this to be, let me see. Yeah, so to me, this is a premium collection. So it's a call credit spread at 75.45 and 75.50. So they're essentially betting on, hang on, let me adjust the scale here. See these two positions here, 75.45, 75.50, and then the positioning here, they almost look, to me, they're an iron condor. So whoever put this on is betting that price will stay between this and they'll get paid their full premium. As long as we close above 74.30 and below 75.45, they make their money. I'm just going to zoom in here. Yeah, pretty large size IC. Okay, that's value area low there. And also the edge of the 1 hour. There's like this little edge of node pocket that we're jumping around between. 75.50 on ES was definitely a good rejection point off that edge of node there. And NQ was at a very similar node. It just overran it just by a little bit. And we're currently at 74, at a low of 74.73 on SPX. And the edge of this cluster here is 74.75, 74.70. So, I mean, if we're going to bounce, this is a decent spot to bounce. Oh, charm is kind of pointing down here. This orange area here. I'm actually not sure if you're familiar with this OptionsDepth platform. But yeah, just based on the color of charm, it is technically suppressive here. And then above 7,500, it would be supportive. If just referring to charm flow. Yeah, it wasn't much of a bounce there. This thing looks like it's going to head right down towards the gap fill on SPX. Yeah, I personally don't always like look at charm specifically. I don't weight charm that heavily. There are guys out there that do. Curious if you use the OptionsDepth platform too, or are you using like a VS3D or something like that? But so far, it looks like we have decent momentum to the downside, all driven by this negative gamma, I would think. We got zero gamma, but we're basically approaching that zero gamma level, which is the edge of this cluster here. So to me, that's normally, just based on how I typically view the breakdown by strike, whenever there's like this large cluster here, I often see we try to bounce off this edge of cluster. But it doesn't, there's no confluence there, in my opinion, from a technical analysis perspective. Like at this point, I would want to see a gap fill at 74.58 SPX. $75.45 fly. So your fly is going to be centered at 75.45. Is that what you're thinking? I don't know that I can bet on an upward drift there. Because if we start breaking down here, we're going to reach this positive gamma area. Like all this is pointing downwards to me, just from a technical analysis perspective. I know I tried the long up, thinking that we could see some upside, but I took a 5-point loss there with futures. Completely missed a short. Yeah, that's a 0 gamma level there. Yeah, let's see if we can get this nice bounce here right off the 0 gamma level. I mean, so far it's bounced pretty good. I'd love to see a 5-minute close with a high volume. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think of a fly, to be honest. But if that's like typically how you trade, then I would say go for it. But everything to me was reading downside from a technical analysis perspective. And any long I take, it's going to be just a bounce. Like I wouldn't try to take anything towards 75.45. Like I wouldn't be holding anything towards 75.45, that is. Zero gamma bounce is looking pretty good here. And I would treat it as that, as a bounce. Yeah, that edge of node played out well. 75, 70. Or edge of this negative gamma cluster, I would say. Like if you played the fly, would you take profit? Like what's your typical take profit strategy? Like are you taking it off at like 50%? And let's say you went in at the negative or at 0 gamma. At what point would you get that 50%? Center fly around 74, 75.45 because it would be cheap and maybe take some profit at 75.25. Yeah, I would not be upset with those gains. You're right. Like if we do traverse this entire negative gamma strike cluster, 75.25 makes a lot of sense to me. At what point would you cut the at what point would you take the loss if it is a loss? Like what would be your stop loss? Gotcha. Yeah, I think you're a lot more seasoned with these option strategy than I am. I'm more directional in terms of, well, futures trading for the most part. But I've definitely seen guys on the Vol Signals Discord mention broken wing butterflies, and they play a lot of flies there too. But that zero gamma bounce is looking pretty darn good. Hey Koshik, did you see any indication of a long there for on your end based on your strategy? Yeah, hopefully you got an entry there, Nordring. I mean, the flies are pretty tough to get into from the times that I've tried to play it. Like, especially if you don't hit like a market type of entry. Like normally I'm always like limit orders when trying to enter a fly. And it would take a while to split the spread. Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I think downside is like the momentum play, and then upside is like there's also one person that I like to follow. And I follow pretty religiously. Uh, it would be Alma. I don't know if you came across her Twitter or even her subscription on Substack. But I think she basically gave a heads up that today it's downside momentum and an upside would be good for vol selling, if assuming we stay towards the upside, that is. But we did see the downside momentum play out pretty darn good given all that negative gamma. Yeah. So I guess you follow her too. Are you subscribed to her out of curiosity? That's how I feel. I'm just hoping that I gain, like, gaining 10% of what she has to offer. I would be happy with that. But that's the perfect take of Alma. But yeah, like she gave the heads up that that it was downside momentum. She's in her latest reports, she's been providing a lot of additional charts that she didn't provide previously. So you'll see things like customer implied P&L, shadow gamma and net gamma, shadow theta too, and other things like that. And to me, it's really hard to understand. I try my best to read the charts that she provides, and at least they at least have like reasonable levels. But yeah, I just hope to gain like 10% of what she has to offer, to be honest. And there's like her community is on like the Substack chat that she opens up every week on a weekly basis, and I think generally people are helping each other out, trying to understand what the heck Alma has to offer. Some people just use her levels like blindly, but I don't think it's one of those things that you can use blindly. Like, in my opinion, there should always be some sort of confluence, even from a technical analysis perspective, whether you use volume profile or just candlestick analysis. But in order to take a trade, I'm always looking for multiple confluences, including with her report. But for instance, she drew a line at 74.85. And it was basically her line in the sand, and she was saying that it's hard to break from either side that you're on. And we were technically above it prior to 10 o'clock. And I think enough people probably went long there, just blindly following her. For me, I tried along there too, on that 5-minute candle close, just to give it a shot. But it was like a small stop loss, so I wasn't really fussed about it. But in like reality, there wasn't a lot of confluence there for me to go long. And I would have relied more heavily on options depth to go long off of 74.70, for instance. But the 5-minute had already created like a 10 point, was it 10 points? Yeah, almost 10 point top wick, or bottom wick, sorry. So it was a bit, and at that time we were kind of going back and forth talking about the fly setup, which I probably should have been paying a bit more attention to, as I probably would have went in that long. think that's a great philosophy. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. The tough part for me today was when you mentioned 7545, and then I zoomed out a little and I was like, hey, okay, this thing looks like an IC. And naturally, I would think that these customer short positions or dealer long gamma positions are like the natural gravitational points to end off the day, right? Yeah, it's great. You're definitely more advanced than I am. I haven't been playing flies lately. I think there's been a few times when vol signals mention a fly, I would look at it and then give it a shot type of thing. And there's times when it paid off really nicely, and then times that sometimes it gets killed. But I find that he only looks at the options positioning and the charm chart, gamma and charm chart. And I find that he heavily weights the charm charts. But most of what I learned is from vol signals. If you're familiar with who that is, which I'm guessing you do, just based on um, how much you know. Stingy and cheap. It's a good one. Do you ever play futures? Yeah, yeah. He's a tough listen at times, but back when his subscription was like only $50 a month, I thought it was great. But now he's starting to throw things in there, and the cost is gonna go up quite a bit. But he only grandfathered some of his subscribers in for like to the end of this year, which I think the subscription goes up like 4 times what it initially cost. Actually, 6 times what it initially cost, and then 4 times what it costs now. And I don't think I can stomach it. Yeah, you're gonna find that we do that a lot here, like shorter term level bounces. So what did you what platform do you use, or like how do you typically look at like dealer positioning, market maker positioning, and like gamma charts. Just out of curiosity. The market tide shows new calls or puts total value coming in during the day. And market tide, I've actually never heard of market tide. Oh, is that sorry, I might be missing a message here. It just says it has speed exposure, which is good for options expiry. So I'm curious, what was that? I might be missing one chat there. Is that unusual whale? Like the first thing that comes up when I type in market tide is unusual whale. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, speed. But what platform is this? It's called Market Tide. Yeah, speed I had to learn through Alma. Five-minute has interesting volume here. So I kind of want to see this close and figure out what the heck's happening. Are we headed further down or? Are we going to try to push up? Oh, this looks like further down. If we can't recover this. Yeah, I have to say I've tried Spot Gamma's hero way back in the day. I think roughly when it first came out, and I just couldn't figure out a great use for it, um, based on how I'm trading, anyways. Yeah, this looks like further downside. I'm gonna see what happens towards that gap fill. Seeing that we're pretty darn close to it, anyways. Only about 12, 14 points away here. Nordrang, I was wondering if you're familiar with the OptionsDepth platform at all. I may be missing some chats here because there's a few things that are either missing or not seeing. It's a pretty high volume candle there. Little bit of yeah, there you go. Find all these Greek tools, etc. Look at one ingredient in the recipe, but at different times they have different weights, importance. Hard to take everything into account. Yeah, for me, I've always been kind of using OptionsDepth ever since I kind of found out about it. And that was through vol signals, I believe. And at the time, vol signals was just offering free stuff over Twitter. Seeing that he was like a former market maker, I thought it was like a great resource to kind of learn. And that I did. But I find that he still heavily weights market maker positioning or market maker hedging over everything else. And there are times that it plays out beautifully, and then there are times that I find it's missing something. Like there are periods of time where market maker positioning doesn't, or market maker hedging doesn't really give you a nice edge in the market. Typically, it's during high volatility environments, I guess. But it takes me a few days, like might take me a week, maybe even 2 weeks sometimes to adjust and figure that out. Because I'm constantly watching OptionsDepth. It's just like a habit. Yeah, everything about that 4 hour that 4 hour candle, the 1 hour candle, it all kind of suggested further downside for me. And on ES at the time, we were still sitting around 75.20-ish. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there are times when it's like perfect to play. Like conditions almost lends itself to a naked call position where it's like pretty cheap, and maybe you're at like the afternoon cheap naked call with potentially a like quote unquote unlimited upside, and it seems mispriced based on the amount of like negative gamma that we have above or something like that, right? Yeah, like I mean, Alma has like she builds platforms that essentially like these other guys like Ball Signals and OptionsDepth and whoever else, she builds these platforms but only for her use. And she more or less analyzes it and then pumps it out to us as subscribers. I agree. I don't think you need to know it all, but it's kind of nice to have the information in order to kind of figure out some confluences. But I still rely heavily on technical analysis. Like a good gap fill to me is always like I value a good gap fill. And oftentimes they gap fills end up being where like price action hits and there's liquidity there, stalls a bit, and then reverses for the day. So it acts like a decent pivot too. But on the daily, it looks like we're through the zero gamma level and into the positive gamma zone. But I take that with a grain of salt until we gap fill, which is maybe 7 points lower. Yeah, I agree. And I think there's enough algos and enough people staring at the same price charts that create this effect and essentially validates technical analysis. Like I have to wonder if we're gonna gravitate towards this area here and just like chop up and then eventually end up somewhere around the 74.40 level. I think 74.50, 74.40, yeah. It's a pre-market level too. So it's prior to intraday price action. Get a divergence here between ES and NQ at the lows. Yeah, I don't mind trying an ES long here. Just for like a bounce. But what's hard for me is we're so darn close to the gap fill. Okay, where's VIX at? Yeah, generally, I think Alma's weekly outlook was looking at the expiration, obviously, which is Wednesday AM. And for the most part, I think, as with most of expirations, like she's expecting the support to be gone. But this is based off of the positioning that she sees. But weekly projections are weekly projections. They're a few days out. They don't get updated positioning. So take that with a grain of salt. There's times when her weekly plays out beautifully. To the T. Yeah, there's the upwards move. Yeah, I really like it when ES and NQ diverge at the lows on the 5 minute. So like the 11 o'clock candle, NQ went to make a lower low than the previous candle, and ES did not. So we got like a little nice bump up there. Gamma growing at 74.30, but still have not broken last night's lows. Yeah, overnight lows would be the equivalent of 74.43 on SPX. Yeah, I'm just adjusting the scale here. Figured I don't need to know that the positioning at 75.45 is 8K sizing. I kind of wanted to see what's in between. 74.30 has like 6,500 positions. That's long gamma positions from a dealer perspective. 75.40, we're still at around 4,200. 74.50 at 2,100. Yeah, like the charm chart to me looks like we want to settle 74.40, 74.30. Like it wants to gravitate towards there. But I would not consider, oh man, I mean, like this morning, I wanted to see NQ sweep the previous day highs, and then I would consider shorts. Or ES touch its gap fill from Thursday to Friday. Thursday's close, Friday's open, that gap. We didn't quite get there on ES. Or sorry, we didn't quite get there on SPX. Then on NQ, we didn't quite get there either. Instead, we topped out at this edge of node on the volume profile, which I was talking about, but I wasn't convinced that we were going to reject here just based on the confluence that we had. Like it would have been nice if we went up towards 75.20, 75.25 and then rejected there. That would have made a lot of sense to me. But I guess we got close enough to the 0 gamma level. And oftentimes we like to react off the daily gamma chart levels, whether it be like a gamma peak or a gamma trough or 0 gamma levels. But Vol Signals has often said that there's no reason to bounce or reject or react off of 0 gamma levels, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I agree. I agree with you completely. I mean, right now, charm is relatively high from a value perspective. Like we're looking at 41 charm, and we're supposed to multiply by -2 in order to get the number of futures that dealers have to buy or sell. In this case, they would have to sell 84 ES contracts every 5 minutes or so. That's the way I understand how this works, based on, again, Vol Signals. Yeah, a reading of 40 is pretty high from my experience of looking at this. Like normally you're looking at like 10, maybe 20 at around this time. And then normally 40s come in at like early afternoon. But here we're looking at like readings of 68 early afternoon. Depending on what, obviously, depending on where you think price action is going to be, of course. 0 gamma's level is very important because market maker regime has to completely 180. Yes, that's right. Okay. To completely shift from negative to positive gamma in theory. Yeah. But I guess like to me, 0 gamma is important just from a level perspective and tracking the daily level shown on the OptionsDepth gamma chart. So like my understanding is like once we get to zero gamma, in theory, market makers aren't really doing anything, right? Because it's neutral gamma. They aren't selling into the price action moving down, and they aren't buying it up either. But I completely agree with you. Like, I often see we bounce off zero gamma levels, or reject off zero gamma levels. But I didn't realize market makers defend it actively. See, this bounce came a little early for me. Like, I wanted to see it at the gap fill, almost perfect gap fill, but I mean, we were within 4 or 5 points of the gap fill. Oh, half of the 74.90 came off. I think I think 74.90, if I remember correctly, they were long puts there. Customers were long puts. The majority of it was customers long put position. And it looks like they're taking profit. I wonder when that was. It's gonna be a pain in the butt trying to change the times on that. Gamma's neutral, but only at that. Take into account all the dealer position I have in before the price came to zero gamma level. If price crosses the zero gamma, dealers have to reposition their entire book to take into account that what was all negative gamma is now positive. Yeah, so basically, if I'm just trying to think this one through here. So from 7,500 running down towards that zero gamma level, dealers are selling into the down move as they hedge in the direction of price action. Get to zero gamma. Essentially, they are done hedging here. But if we were to move into positive gamma, they would start having to buy up. If price action moves down, dealers have to buy into it, causing like a very slow kind of effect in positive gamma. Price crosses zero gamma. Have to reposition your entire book. To take into account what was all negative gamma is now positive gamma. Yeah, so like the reaction function has to change in its entirety, right? So and that shift from having to hedge negative gamma to positive gamma is something that's you would consider that a very large shift from the market maker perspective. And all of it, this also depends on what else is happening in the market, news flows and announcements. Yeah, I completely agree. No, that's fair. That's fair. I think for the most part, it's something I've observed too, especially on a daily level. Or the daily gamma chart that we see, as opposed to the intraday. The intraday changes so frequently; it's hard to kind of put a pin on it. So what I tend to look at is the intraday breakdown by strikes instead. Like I prefer to look at the daily gamma level that OptionsDepth provides, or like the peaks, troughs, and zero gamma. And then from an intraday perspective, I like the look of the breakdown by strike, especially like when it clusters like this. Mainly because like the cluster signifies this, in this case, negative gamma. And then once you get to 75.40, you're like, oh, okay, we might experience a bounce somewhere around there. Yeah, that SMT does look, that 10:55 and 11 o'clock divergence at the lows there was definitely a great trading opportunity, just for scalp long. And maybe this is what causes the reversal. And we're around London close too, so oftentimes the market sentiment kind of changes. Nordrang, how did you find me, by the way? Out of curiosity. Like normally people find me searching Gex. And that's the only times, like, most people that find me don't interact on the chat, and the only ones that do interact on the chat are talking about gamma exposure. Sorry, what are you referencing as the options that net flow? Or are you just referencing like the overall positioning? Gotcha. Nice. Yeah, that's very consistent with most of the people that that find this channel. I try to kind of flip back and forth between the price chart and OptionsDepth, mainly because I trade off of OptionsDepth. But I don't know, at some point someone's gonna call me out for showing OptionsDepth, right? Market tide, eh? Like, are you looking at this? Because that's like the first thing that pops up when I'm opening market tide. No, unusual whales. When you're seeing new calls on the upside being bought all day so far, is that on SPX? Or is it like SPY or... Only SPF. Okay. I think 7,500 is going to be tough to break through. To be fair, we didn't get much of a reaction off 7,500 on the way down. Yep, I completely agree with that assessment about 7,500. Yeah, customer bought about, oh, where'd it go? 3,500 calls. It's weird because they're long puts too. Customers are long put there. 1,100 positions. But the calls are definitely the dominant. I mean, both cause like negative gamma in general, but I think this time if we move above 74.90, you're gonna see this 74.90 the customer long puts portion close out. And that might give us a little bit of a thrust towards 7,500, I would imagine. This is all long call positions too by customers, 1,500, or well, it's 1,200 positions, but 75.20 long calls. Customer perspective. 75.10 long calls. Yeah, all this. We can just spool right up. It's 74.85 right now. Okay, so I noticed that YM took out the previous day low, closed bottom wick or doji on the 15-minute chart, and then it's drifting up. Okay, just give me 1 sec. I'm gonna be right back. I get some water. Okay, I'm back. Seems to be stalling out right here. 74.85. This is the point where Alma said it's pretty hard to break through on either side. seems to be stalling out right here. Very odd there. SPX wicked off of its VWAP, and that was like its high on the previous candle, 1130, but ES did not do that. Then ES instead made equal highs. Here's what IM doing. IM is pulling back a little here off its 15-minute ADMA, but it could find some support here. Right back to POC. Still a lot of time left on the hourly candle, so I would like to see how that one closes. 30-minute looked okay. Like, I'm inclined to think more upside towards 7,500 at the very least. Or that's what I would like to see anyways. But we got a IFVG there that we're just rejecting off here. Yeah, I would have wanted to see 7,500 get tested, but we're rejecting this exact spot that Alma said it's going to be very difficult to pass. cross 7,500. Let's get the charm kicker. Yeah, 7,500. Yeah, that's right. Who knows really what will happen? That is why I like cheap trades. Fair enough. Yeah, I wanted to think upside. We could kind of mess around here for a little while. Yeah, Alma's basically calling this like a local Vanna flip area. 74.80, 74.95 zone. It's really chopping it up here. Yeah, YM doesn't look that great here on a 15-minute chart. Could see a pullback. The NQ is a little bit stronger here, holding it up. Yeah, but there's no edge here for me. I don't think I can really take a trade here. Yeah, I think it is lunchtime for New York. If we just consolidate here, it would be positive for afternoon. Yeah. Even if we pull back, like I'm not sure we see a new low for the day. I mean, I understand there's a little bit of a gap fill that remains, but like I consider the gap filled for the most part. And nor drag, my usual schedule on streaming is like between 9:30 and around, well, it depends what price action is doing, but sometimes I cut out at like 11:15 New York time. So 9:30 New York time is typically when I start, and then I run through maybe 11:15 or 12 o'clock, 12:15, something like that. Nothing, no concrete schedule in terms of when I end. But for the most part, we're just we have a few people that kind of drop by every now and then, and oftentimes we're trading futures for the most part. I don't know that everyone follows like the OptionsDepth gamma stuff, but others might use it as like a general landscape just to understand if we're in negative or positive gamma. And we just basically share trade ideas for the most part. Sometimes I would take a trade on stream. Other times it adds a lot of pressure to take a directional trade on stream. But yeah, I work shifts sometimes. So sometimes I am nights, sometimes days. Gotcha. Yeah, we'll definitely see you if you drop by again. I can't see who attends my streams, so yeah, just give a hello in the morning, or if you happen to drop by. That's the only way I'll know if a familiar name pops up is attending the stream. Yeah, I think you're like you seem to know a lot about the option side, and a pretty good understanding of the option stuff anyway. So for me, I'm primarily trying to leverage the retail version of prop firms. For futures trading. I think there's very few options versions of like prop trading that's available at the retail level. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I think that's a great indication to go off of. Man, look at this. We're sneaking through here. It's pretty darn close to 74.90. Yeah, you might get along well with like the guys that are trading on vol signals Discord. They like to identify like various flies and condors to play. Alma generally gives a pretty decent insight on like a range for markets. And then reading through her daily reports, it's quite nice. I think there are some guys in her Substack chat that would take like they would just sell naked puts or naked calls just based off of what the Greeks are telling Alma for the most part. I think some of them do use like credit spreads. Hey, yeah, you're spot on with charm. That's like generally what I've been seeing too. Where I think vol signals is the one that kind of taught me this, but oftentimes charm tries to end off or pin at where the top is yellow or orange and then the bottom is blue. So for instance, like a 75.05, 75.25, 75.40, maybe 74.30. Like those are all potential spots where we could, like, where the flies could, like, I guess they are better strikes to choose or higher probability strikes to choose anyways for flies. Definitely, yeah. I have a friend that just trades well, I guess more recently he started trading, I guess it would be short flies, collecting premium off flies. And more or less using Claude to decipher the gamma breakdown by strike and the charm charts. And he was just doing it for fun, just to kind of see if Claude can kind of decipher what the heck is going on. But yeah, and typically, I guess before he used to trade a lot of credit spreads. just selling premium for the most part. Yeah, I kind of thought about signing up for the API inputs, so that way we can try to get Claude to figure out, especially based on values, as opposed to like an image screenshot or something like that. But we haven't gotten around to that yet. Also, would be extremely costly to get AI to run through all those APIs, all the API information. $25% of the premium. If you entered on the low end, like towards 74.70-ish, you probably already got your 25%, no? I mean, it's a little early in the day, so I guess like more time has to be shaven off. 25% is pretty darn good. Guess the question is, would you ever leave a runner towards the center of your fly? Or towards max profit or whatever. Right, 1 hour closed okay. I do like this move up potentially. Keep a lotto on always? Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. There's a few times that my buddy and I would try a fly just based off of like all signals recommendation, and we'd cut out for like 100 or 200% gain, and we thought we were golden. But only to find out that it went like 15x because it was the perfect it was like the perfect trade, the perfect pin, if you will. VIX is still coming down. Approaching the regular trading hour lows on VIX. Pretty reasonable size gap on VIX too from Thursday to Friday. And oftentimes we see VIX kind of revisit it. I just don't know if it's in the books prior to Wednesday's expiration. hour and 2 hour close bottom wick, or 2 hour close bottom wick. Just in the middle of the range for the most part. I don't think I'm gonna end up trying anything today. Or for the rest of the day anyways, but we'll kind of see. Yeah, that's great. I've always had issues with like seeing profit and then watch it dwindling away. But if like I never really got used to holding a runner, even if it was 10% of its size. I never really quite got used to holding a runner towards its towards the end of the day, if referring to a fly, for the target to hit. And technically, like, you can lose the 10% and it's fine, or set a stop loss, but there's something psychological that happens looking at these green and reds that makes me ultimately take profit always a little bit too early. Quite the battle here between, or quite the consolidation here. Slow movement between, I guess, like 80 to 90 so far. But so far, like, the people that joined this this stream, I was able to learn a little bit from them, and they were able to kind of learn a little bit from me, which is kind of nice. So it's always been like a nice give take thing during these streams, which is kind of nice. I still got plenty to learn. But yeah, look at this thing go. I think you're gonna get it. 75.25. Obviously, things have kind of changed a little. 75.05 with a little bit of positive gamma pocket there. It's been really slow though. Very grind up. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it now. I'm just gonna call it, have some lunch, and relaunch streaming at like 9:30 tomorrow, New York time. Hard to find people that do not talk in circles but give real usable info data. It's available everywhere. You just need to implement it. Yeah, that's true. I completely agree. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that talk in circles. But yeah, it's kind of nice. Yeah, thanks for dropping by. If you do drop by again, shoot a chat so that way I know you're here. But yeah, I think I was able to learn a little bit from you, but we're trying to build like a community here for the most part, not just like blind all out of trades. But yeah, discussing them for the most part, just based off of price action and the basic Greeks, if you will. But I like talking about Alma's stuff too. But anyways, yeah, thanks for dropping by, and yeah, hopefully see you next time. Take care, Nordring.